Hello, Connective. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Like, subscribe, and share without smashing anything, and let's get into this energy. This is a collective reading for Gemini. So, Gemini, we're going to see the energies that are coming through for you today. They are shuffled. Okay. All right, let's see what that is. Gonna go through it a couple times. Can't see what's underneath. It's a decent amount of cards. I'm going to do one more time. Alright, you know what? One more. One more time. Okay. Oh. Okay. Alright. Haven't seen that card in a little bit. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. Okay, Gemini. So we've got second chakra, Archangel Ariel. Second chakra here. And we also have, okay, we're going to do him next. We have man holding a coin. Not getting anything off of that just yet. Figure out what's going on here. Okay, and contract, picking up a little bit off of that. Also, the Magician in the Mirror, empaths, Gemini, you guys are empaths. All right, and then we've got, as far as I'm concerned, 3 doors, but more than 3 doors. So we have the door to value. Door to value goes up there. We've got the door to romance. And then we have, whoops, the door. It's adjacent possibilities, which as far as I'm concerned is a whole bunch of doors. So let's see what Alice has to say about that. Obviously, oh, okay. Still don't know what man holding a coin is doing there yet, but door to value, I'm just picking up as an opportunity. Actually, these are shuffled too. Door to value, I'm picking up as an opportunity, the same as the door to romance, and the adjacent possibilities I'm picking up as many opportunities. Contract here is kind of telling me that, you know, you have like a soul contract, but I'm not necessarily like talking about necessarily a life partner, although it could be. Door to romance is on the table. This man, although he's holding a coin, he's here and he could be offering something, so he's on the table. But we also have Magician in the Mirror, which is usually, you know, the empath card. So I'm also picking up that contract as like, you know, you're basically you know, the empath, the gifts that come along with it. Basically, your soul's kind of like purpose, or it's like story for itself. All right. Wasn't sure. Oh, okay. All right. So you have kind of divine timing on the table. It's not, yeah. It's divine timing. It's the card usually that comes out when you're supposed to be doing something. It's the use your time well card. I'll show you that in just a second. I'm going to see if anything else wants to come out for Alice. We do have 3. I don't think that's 4, but I'm just going to see if one more wants to come out. Okay. Okay. All right, guys. I think you're supposed to move forward to, let me see what we have for, oh. Okay, we'll go back to that. Okay, let's do use your time well, because we talked about it. Oh, okay. So we have use your time well. We have, mortality, which is usually, you know, the ending, so the beginning can come. And then we're going to have forget who you are. So usually deprogramming, we'll see if that's really what that is. And then we have you can't go back to yesterday, which is another card usually after endings. And then we have follow your own good advice. Your own good advice? Yes. Follow your own good advice. So Let's see what the moons have to say. Yeah, I would prefer for these to be like this. Maybe we'll move these over. Which is interesting because usually the energy cards that we're not really fond of go on the right side, and there's none of those. So good job, Gemini. You're doing something. You're doing something that's helping you move forward. But yeah, looks like you have. It looks like it's time to kind of move forward again, possibly without someone. We'll see. That someone might already be gone. It could be anybody. I mean, it could be romance. We have door to romance on the table, but we also have door to value on the table, and we have this man holding the coin, and we have contracts. So it could be like another soulmate. It could be, you know, a family member, somebody at work. It could be somebody that was just in a relationship with you that was not, it was something that needed to be ended with the mortality card. And then forgetting who you are is usually you having to undo whatever damage they did, usually by, you know, programming. And you looking like you're a little bit nostalgic over here because you need to be told that you can't go back to yesterday. I'm going to go through this one more time, and if nothing falls out, I'm going to pull them. Follow your own good advice. Ooh. So I just got the notion that follow your own good advice is kind of like, you know, if you want to move forward in life, you're going to have to listen to yourself. Like you're going to have to listen to your own self. Let's see what we got. Just get them out. I'm just going to get all the cards out. I want to know what the blind spot is. All right, so we have New Moon in Sagittarius. Focus on the positive. So again, a lot of times something that we have to do when we're trying to get over something. And then I have New Moon in Pisces, attuned to the divine. Here we are again. This is going down here with follow your own good advice and the empath card. And then we have first quarter moon in Virgo, assess the situation. So Gemini with you, there could either be a Virgo, a Sagittarius, or a Pisces that could be involved in this. And assess the situation is going to go back to up there with forget who you are. Let's get the blind spot. And this doesn't look bad, but it looks like a little bit of work. Like either just trying to ascend in general, which could be, or trying to overcome something. I mean, it could be both, because I definitely see overcoming something on the table, like something, you know, that's, okay, come on. This is a lot of cards in this deck, and apparently I've just come to terms with the fact that the cards are just too big for my hands. But I like them, we're going to use them, so we're just going to have to deal with it. So, like I said, I do see an ending on the table. What is that? That's very odd. Okay. Do you see an ending on the table? Here. Oh no. It looks familiar. The number doesn't look familiar, but the sigil does. Let's see. What is number 12? All right. What is Gemini's blind spot? Yes! Oh! Let me just write it down. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow. The first time I saw this sigil, I noticed that it looks like there's hearts on there. This one, and then there's looks like another one up here, right? So I noticed the hearts, right? And this is our blind spot. Like typically when we're looking at it or looking for it, it's like a setback or a negative thing in our lives, right? This card here, card number 12, is your goodness. And this card does come out when there's empath on the table. There's empath on the table. Let me just take this in really quick. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right, so you were in something or are in something, but it does look like we're in something that was passionate, you know, stable for the most part. There might have been parts of it that are unstable because, you know, a lot of times when we set, like, I like the word theme, when we set a word, like a theme for our lives, a lot of times there can be, well, I was going to say negativity, but that's not the right word. There can be like adverse, you know, things that when we're here, we don't want to experience, but when we make this plan for ourselves, obviously we plan to experience so that we can follow that theme, so that we can, you know, learn about that we put our soul in a place where, where we know we're gonna like set up, basically we're set up to learn a certain lesson, you know, and sometimes there's multiple lessons. Sometimes we could even, you know, learn more than what we set out to just by maybe paying attention, or just, you know, getting good or really fast at like listening to our emotions or anything, just going from like waking up to like being awake, like to where you start to notice something, but then getting kind of like to the point where you can like use those gifts, or at least to the point where when your intuition comes in that you get it. So it's like, I don't even have like a negative character to pick up off this table to even talk about. This person might not even have been a bad person. There's many ways that this person could have left, you know. It doesn't have to be a terrible breakup. I mean, I just see an ending. I do see a little bit of programming, but, you know, this also might not be programming. This might be just like the person that you were when you were with that person, and now that person is gone, and you're kind of like, you've always been someone else, but you weren't letting yourself be that because that person was in the picture, kind of thing. I just got the word complacency. It's like I said, like not terrible. Like usually I'm talking about like abuse and boundaries and narcissism and all this stuff. There's none of that here. Even your blind spot is your goodness, you know, it's not terrible. But I do see struggle. I mean, we have the contract here of maybe the either the experience itself or the person itself, themselves, or the experience with that person, perhaps. It's possible. And a little bit, like I said, of nostalgia, of like, you know, wanting to kind of go back there. And, you know, first of all, if there was any kind of like complacency, and you're supposed to be like growing or ascending. I was going to use the word glowing. You're supposed to be like, you know, leveling up in some way. I mean, the other signs sort of got this too, like it's time to level up. And this is saying that you don't have a lot of time. You know, you have doors here, you have opportunity, you have the door to value, which is whatever you value. I'm not picking it up as self-esteem here. It might be with this forget who you are card, but I'm really not picking that up as self-esteem. You also have the door to romance here. So definitely someone coming. You might have even had romance with this person that, you know, is either exiting or has exited, and that's why you're thinking about them. You can't go back to yesterday. But, you know, either way, you're always supposed to, especially after endings, you know, or during endings, focus on the positive. Focus on the thing, the good thing that's going to come out of it. You know what I mean? Because you have so many more opportunities coming your way. And sometimes it just is that the person cannot come with you. It doesn't matter like bad, good. Like sometimes I try to like make the distinction so it kind of looks funny. But again, in this situation, I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that this person couldn't go through the door to value or the door to romance or any of these other, you know, adjacent possibilities without you. It's just the possibility that they might not be able to go through them with you, because I still have mortality on the table. And usually that's an ending for a beginning. It's an ending for a beginning. You know, and sometimes we're supposed to hurry up and sometimes we're supposed to have patience. This card is not so much either. Use your time well. It kind of tells me that, you have stuff to do, and the time that you don't have extra time for this. So maybe it's, maybe you have like, 3 years worth of work to, I'm just throwing this out as an example, but let's say you have 3 years worth of work to do, but you only have like 3 years and 10 days to do it, kind of thing, So it's something like that, to where it's telling you, to not be complacent in this situation. I know that it might be hurtful if you were comfortable and now you're not, kind of thing, either because that person's gone or because your life has changed. But again, I always talk about how there's so many other things moving forward that we don't look at because we're kind of too busy kind of like looking at the past. And again, the person that you are is not necessarily going to be the person who you're going to be when you walk through this door. And so these cards are telling you to take a look at that. And see, because it just could be that you're like on a spiritual awakening and this person isn't necessarily, or they might be a soulmate, but like I said, you might be awakening it and they might not be awakening, and you're supposed to like kind of do what you need to do. Because a lot of times when we have people around us who are like not awakening or not awakened, some of the things that we say or feel that we need to do to like kind of like protect ourselves or make us feel, comfortable, are silly to other people. And I don't mean silly like as in the actual definition of the word silly, but you could really throw any word in there and it would be the same thing. There's a word that they feel that it is, some of which could just even be that it's non-existent, that the things that you're going through aren't real because they don't believe in that. You need to tune to the divine. You need to listen to your own good advice about what you're going through if the people around you are not awakening. Because again, you're going to have to kind of like move forward, focus on the positives of it so that you can get to this other stuff that's waiting for you. And I understand if you feel like you had it already, but I'm just going to keep reminding you to not try to go back there to go get that again. There's a reason why things end. There's a reason why you might not even see, especially if you're feeling the way I described about the ending of this situation, you might not even really see like anything that I was going to say was bad in it, but just something that would be less than desirable. Again, we have to forget who you are on the table. You could have been like really good to someone and maybe they took it for granted and you didn't see that because you're an empath and you wanted to just give, and you didn't think about like what you were necessarily getting back. I say it all the time, that empaths just give freely. We give because we want to. We don't, sometimes it comes off as a sign of weakness depending on what we're giving or like how much we're giving, but we don't even care about that. We like to give, we want to give in that particular situation, and so we do. And the thing is not everybody's like us. And I have to keep telling you guys that because, for decades, I thought that everyone was like me, and I could throw out some really like visual examples of that just based on like situations that everyone can know and identify with. But I don't even really want to go into it because I'm always telling you guys how like special and unique you are. So it doesn't even really matter what example I use. It's going to be valid because, we're all different and unique in our own ways. But, even as empaths, as having this thing in common or these things in common, one of the biggest things that we have in common is that we think everybody has the goodness that we have inside of us. We think that everybody is giving when they want to, because they want to be giving, like, how we are, we're just giving. We don't consider the fact that someone might be like giving us something to get something. We don't think about like if we're in a relationship with someone, that it's a possibility that they might be acting in a way that's different than how we would be acting in the relationship, because that's not a thing for us. Because we are uniquely ourselves and we embody goodness, and we think that everybody embodies goodness. And I'm not saying that the person that you were with doesn't embody goodness, because I don't see deceit on the table. I don't see anything bad on the table. But what I mean by goodness in this particular situation is that pure heart that I'm always talking about, I've mentioned before in videos about how like I'm not currently in a relationship. Like I just think that being single is underrated. But having said that, I also have realized through this of really kind of looking at the situation and making sure that I'm not being toxically, avoiding a relationship, and that I'm really just, appreciative that I'm not in one. But I'll tell you what as well, it's given me a better understanding of what kind of person I want to have a relationship with, because I understand now how different I am than other people when I'm giving love and when I'm receiving love. And so I don't want to be with someone who I have to get a crowbar to pry love out of them, right? So this is an understanding that I have now of what I'm looking out for when I am looking for a relationship, or if I do spot a relationship, what it is that I'm looking for that's different than what I was looking for before, or possibly what I'd been getting. And so it's one of those things where, again, if you were in something that wasn't that terrible, and so the idea of wanting to like kind of stay in it is there, then it could be even more so for you, harder for you to go back, it's these two cards right here, to go back and try to figure out like who the different type of person would be for you to want to walk through this door with. And again, it's not just this door, because you have this door and you have these doors. See, again, when we're getting out of something, and especially if it's something that makes us want to kind of look back, we forget what we're walking towards. And in a lot of cases, usually I say when you're coming from a place where everything was negative or bad, it's hard to look forward without the negative and the bad. I don't see negative and bad, like I keep saying, but I do see like an inability to look forward for better, because this is easy to look at and say, I want that, or that wasn't that bad, or I just, I don't understand why that might have ended. It wasn't terrible, especially if someone didn't exit the relationship by death, and you kind of go, when they walked away, but it was fine. Everything was fine. Nobody was, you have to think about your own situation in terms of what's best for you. Especially if you're in it, but even like right after you get out of it, it's not easy to look back and see what happened that was better for you. Especially, like I said, if you're not being shown, you don't know what that is. It's hard to look forward and see what doors might be available to you. I mean, for you as a general read, I don't even know what the door to value is. It could be anything, but that's what makes this reading so beautiful, is the next person could have something else they value, and it could still make sense because they're still doing the same thing you are, probably a Gemini as well, right? Because the energies technically are reflective of what's happening, right? I don't set the future. I look at probabilities, and that's what falls out on the table. I mean, probability of you being an empath with a blind spot of your goodness is most likely 99.99%. So it can sometimes be a little difficult. See, sometimes when the cards look a little bit like this, or there's like stuff that's on the table that's not great, usually it's like the power center that shows up. But you have your second chakra. You have the second chakra. So I feel like there might have also even been like passion in this relationship, right? At least on your side. And now it's done. It's done. And you're trying to figure out who you are without this person. Maybe missing them a little bit, maybe just missing the relationship, maybe just missing any other aspect of the situation, not realizing that aspect either exists somewhere else, or most likely a better aspect somewhere else for you. And as you look at the situation, usually I say for what it is, but if it's not really clear what it was or what it is, you might just have to sort of focus on the positive and then attune to the divine. You might have to go within, if that means, you know, having a conversation with your angels or your ancestors or God, or having a conversation with your higher self or just yourself and saying, you know, what did I, is there anything that I learned from this? Was there anything that I could have learned from this? Is there something that I'm missing, kind of thing, so that when you do go forward into this, you're a little bit more prepared for what's coming at you, because chances are, as we always talk about when we're talking about leveling up or moving forward, you know, on the level up, the thing that you're getting is so much better that you, in some cases, are going to need to be ready for it. You're going to need to be ready for it. You're going to be this no matter what, right? And this is still going on no matter what. These doors are here. I don't know if they just stay around forever, right? I don't know if like opportunity just like sits around and waits for you to like figure it out. You know, if you're focusing on him, then this door is not for him. It's for another. So we have to let him go so that we can walk through this door with another. It's comes out a little different when deceit's not on the table. Because there's nothing wrong with this person. There's nothing that needs to be dumped. In fact, with this relationship, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell everybody else, Gemini. If you're looking at this thing and you are wanting to go backwards, and I get the whole, you know, looking back and seeing the things that you wanted and wanting to move towards those or wanting to bring those things back, you know, but I just kind of said in really nice words to find the thing in those relationships that weren't 100%, the things that weren't necessarily you, that, you know, you might want to be, you know, somewhere else. But on top of that, absolutely find those good things that were in those this relationship here, because you're going to want to take them with you. You don't deny the whole relationship anyway. And I always say that even if the person is the deceit card, I say, don't, you know, you can't just look at the negative and then just avoid the positive and then be balanced and whole. In any way, why would you want to rob yourself of the positive that you did get when you can just bring it into the new thing? You can claim it, own it as your own, and bring it into the new thing. So, Gemini, I want to pull some healing cards because I want to see what else comes out on this table to highlight anything else. I mean, forget who you are usually really does come out as deprogramming, but I'm really looking at this as like in that relationship, you weren't exactly who you're going to be when you get what it is that's going to fulfill you. So there's a possibility that even though the relationship itself that you were in may not have necessarily been, you know, particularly low vibrational, it's a possibility that naturally your vibration just exists above that and always will. And that in that case, then you deserve somebody who is higher vibrational so that you can have the kind of relationship that you want to have, right? Hard to see now. Easier to see when the person comes in, but harder for the person to come in when you're not matching their vibration. So this is why we're saying that all this stuff, this forgetting who you are, you need to assess the situation. Know that you can't go back to yesterday. You need to focus on the positive. You need to follow your own good advice and in tune to the divine so you can go in the direction that you're going. That person's not necessarily going to be on the level that you are on. So let's pull some more cards, Gemini. If this is your reading, meet us over at the Extended. The link will be in the description. And if not, until we meet again.